G'day guys, what's cracking? It's Ralph here, and today we're talking about some more leaks that have happened about the Osmo Action 2. This is the Osmo Action 1. It's having a baby, and there's more concrete and solid leaks. It was Jasper Ellen's 27 Leaks, who is a self-confessed DJI investigator, that broke this on Twitter about 6 hours ago. So he put it out with some diagrams and stuff that we'll talk about really shortly, but it's the first kind of concrete lead we have in terms of what the OA2 is going to look like and what they've decided to feature. Now, this isn't the be-all and end-all. There may well be a variation or development on these ideas, but it's kind of the spec list that they've brought out, and they've said this is the camera. So I want to talk to you about what the camera is going to offer, some of the challenges in that, and then some of the differences. It would appear that DJI, instead of going after the market leader, GoPro, and destroying them, have kind of backed away and gone towards Insta360, because they've gone for a modular type of camera, which is quite strange. But we'll get to the modular aspect of it later on. Let's look at some of the specs. So this camera has apparently what we've all wanted, the 1-inch sensor, which means the 4K quality that comes out of it and the stills and everything it does, the quality will be remarkably increased. It also has 100 megabyte per second bitrate, which is what these cameras have, and that is like a leader in the field. It's the speed at which imagery and data can be transformed onto the processor, and DJI have always smashed it when it comes to that. So 100 megabytes per second is extremely fast. So if you enjoy the quality of this camera, you're going to love the quality of the next camera. However, their resolution is 4K, and the maximum they can shoot at 4K is 120 frames a second. So GoPro 10, and if you haven't watched one of the videos that I've put out about that, there'll be a link at the end of this video you can have a flick across to, but they're shooting at 5.3K. So the limitation on this is 4K at 120 frames a second. 2.7K is still at 120 frames a second, and it's not till you get to 1080p that you can shoot up to 240 frames a second. And GoPro has kind of made that when they're 2.7K like an industry standard. That's really impressive. I've been using it heaps. We did a world record video this morning for some people, and I used the super slow-mo on that, and it's mint. It's so good. So that video will be coming out shortly about how I did that and what it all looked like. But 240 frames a second on 2.7K is really good, really impressive. So it's not shabby, but it feels like they, with a 1-inch sensor, could have pushed it into a different space. They perhaps could have updated their processor, as GoPro have done, and maybe meet in that middle ground, and kind of toppled, because one of the challenges that GoPro are having is the overheating and the freezing. Now, I've done an overheating test, and I don't want a spoiler alert, but I think actually you can overcome the overheating test by changing a few things on the camera and get full bang for your buck. But that's not for this video. This video is about DJI's Osmo Action 2. The color's just changed, hasn't it? It's just cooled down, because I'm in a hotel room and the sun's just behind a cloud now. But we'll push on. It can only take 12 megapixel photos. The new GoPro 10 can take 23 megapixel photos, so that's a bit of a challenge. I never use these for stills anyway, but it'd be cool if it has a 1-inch sensor, why they couldn't improve that. And perhaps they've just capped it and they'll release the cap maybe with future firmware. Maybe they'll release the cap when it comes to release date. I'll talk about the release date later on, because there's some pretty solid evidence or solid leading about when that might actually be. Now, for those of you thinking, do I get an OA2? Well, end is in sight. We've talked a little bit about that on this channel recently, haven't we? The aperture of the lens is still 2.8, which basically on a full frame equivalent puts it at 7 or 8, but because the sensor's larger, you will get more of a depth of field experience from this camera, because it's a larger sensor and a 2.8, so it will operate maybe as a 4 or 5 equivalent on a full frame, which will mean when you're shooting like this with just the expanse, everything will be in focus. But if you want to do some cool close-up work, that will be a significant factor now in the depth of field that this camera is able to produce. Still does time lapses from 0.5 of a second upwards for as long as you like. I think that's a really cool addition. It doesn't say it has night lapses, and I have come to love the night lapse function on the GoPro 10, so they may bring that in as an extra add-on as things go. Insta360, when they did a firmware update, completely revolutionized their camera by what they introduced into the field, so they may be thinking about doing that. They may not. As we've all guessed and thought, they're going to have Rocksteady 2.0 that's not called Rock Solid. Yeah, I know. This video comes on the heels of two others I've done. If you want to see what we've already covered and where we've been leading with those videos, I'll put a link to the first one in the description below, or the link at the end, so you can go and have a look at that. But Rock Solid would be a sick name for like super stabilization, wouldn't it? We've gone from Rock Steady to Rock Solid. Boom. All right, I'm sorry, don't want to waste your time. The other interesting factor is it has a 155-degree field of view, so that means it comes out like this and like this. It's super wide, so this and like this. It was 145. The problem with 155 through such a small lens is you have the fisheye effect that it creates at such a broad width. However, what we really want is broad and then working its way in. So there's no evidence if that's going to be the case or that's not, but it's possible that this lens might actually be a bit bigger. It might be if we make this into a square the size of that, which leads me nicely to talk about the modular functioning. So what I can gather from what's been put out is that it will be a square about the size of this, and the lens will take up the whole thing. You have a screen on the back and a big button that's on and off and shoots on top. Now you can add to that, next to it, another screen, and you can add to it, if you wish, another battery. But if you just go with the internal square of this modular camera, it looks like you can get 56 minutes of runtime. Now that's really good, like really good, and it basically means the whole thing is a sensor inside that projects onto the back screen. I found drone DJ leaks and drone XL pages really helpful in some research for this, and also Jasper Allen's Twitter account, so head toward those things, and again I'll put links in the description below so you can follow up those things and get stuck into all the investigative work for yourself if you choose. So you have these extra modules that stick on, that increase usability, that increase the accessibility of the camera and the things you might do, how long you might use it. Obviously as you add more, you need more battery power, and therefore the battery on it will require that. As you can imagine, there'll be 1,000 different accessories that come out. One of the ones that DJI is talking about is a magnetic necklace that allows you to attach the camera to your neck and do point of view shooting, which is really cool for point of view photography. You have your camera out here and on live view, and you're shooting everything right from the middle, so you're not offset onto your camera strap, but you can shoot right from the middle on a magnetic necklace. Kind of offers itself to some cool and creative avenues. What I like about what they've done is they've gone, hang on, let's throw it all out and let's think, how do we do this really cleverly and differently and new. What I don't like about it is that I love this. Like, this is, it feels indestructible. You can chuck it in your bag, you can bang it around, you don't have to worry about it. It's got a lens cover that comes on and off. I don't know if they're going to include that. You can put extra batteries in there if you like, so if you run out when you're in the field, you can just pull out your battery and stick a new one in. If the inbuilt battery, you'll have to recharge it, which could take up to 90 minutes to recharge, therefore making it really difficult. That's why I guess you'd have an external battery that may go on it. I think it's going to be a bit longer than this and a little bit bigger than this, which isn't a crime, because this is small and I don't mind that at all. It also means you'll get a smaller screen on the back, but maybe the module will come together and give you a much bigger screen, because we talked about a bigger screen and how cool that would be. I don't think there's any sort of rumors about whether it's going to have GPS, and I know some of you were really keen for GPS. I can't imagine it wouldn't though. In this day and age, I'm sure they'd put GPS functioning in it. And in terms of the audio jack, it's not looking good, folks. So this has a USB-C, and what we wanted was an audio jack, and it's not looking good. However, I don't want to jump ahead. I've got to wait till it comes out, right? So I'd love to know in the comments below, what do you think about it? What's your hunch? Do you think it will add anything? Do you think I've got anything incorrect? Because you're good at pointing that out, some of you. No, I love it. I love it. If I get something wrong, please put it down below. And if you think I got something wrong, read down below in the comments before you say, hey, you got this wrong, because others will probably beat you to it by telling you that I got it wrong. And finally, I was asked this morning, just off the cuff, and I don't know if it's because they heard the links were coming out, but I was talking about my GoPro 10, and they said, because they know I'm like DJI loyal, I love that company. Well, I love the things that they produce. I don't know much about the company, to be honest. And they said, do you think you'll buy it? And I said, yes. And then I looked at the specs, and I mean, obviously I'm going to buy it. Hopefully the price tag isn't ridiculous. If it can beat $500 US, that would be amazing. And I think they get a really strong surgeons. But what they may do is go, well, this costs 300, and then it's another 300, another 300. I don't know. It would suck if to get a full decked out equivalent, it would cost you more than say $500 or $600. I think that would really cap the market, and they'd have a much smaller buy-in percentage. What they've done brilliantly is keep the price down on this. And so when's it coming out? When's it coming out? They think before Christmas. They think it'll be released before Christmas. So what are we saying about, my hunch would be, say, end of November, so people buy up big for Christmas, a perfect Christmas gift, right? Unless they price it out of the universe. So stay tuned. I will keep bringing these updates until you are sick of them, or I am sick of them, or DJI decide, we're going to throw some products his way, and then I'll be like not guessing, I'll be just like delivering the goods. Thanks everybody for watching. Please subscribe, give me the thumbs up. I love you guys, really appreciate you watching. Super stoked, and I'd love for you to be part of the creative crew. You can even join. Details down below. I'll catch you soon. Bye.